Hello and welcome from Sweden. This is the third episode of the Swedish Affair, a video series where I get to show you what's it like to live in Sweden. And yes, I have a new haircut. I'm looking like a raccoon just after a bath. Yes, and today we have two topics. It's gonna be tourism and traveling in Sweden and the Swedish economy. So stick with me if you want to learn some really important facts about the Nordic country of Sweden. The reason I recorded this video is because I really wanted to show you how beautiful Sweden can be to travel. With its untouched nature and beautiful landscapes, it's really something unique. Politically seen, you can split Sweden into 21 counties. If you look at different types of landscapes, you can divide in three parts. It's gonna be Götaland, Svealand, and then in the north it's Norrland. With most of the countries being covered by forest, there is only a small percentage that is used land by human. And to spice it up a little bit for you, I brought you some awesome pictures of the country. There you go. You can see water, a lot of trees, a lot of water, and just stunning. Although, take note, if you look for high mountains in Sweden, you're not gonna find it. There is mountains towards the Norwegian border, but those are, I don't want to say kindergarten, but look, I'm coming from Austria, so it's a different type. It's more like those soft hills, but they do have ski resorts on the other side. If you look at the Swedish tourism statistics, you will find some weird ass numbers, because the whole tourism sector in Sweden only makes about 2.4% of the gross domestic product, which is a super low value. For example, Austria has over 15% of the tourism sector, and Croatia already scratches at the 20% mark. So 2.4 is pretty low. And also some numbers are really interesting. Number of hotels. If you compare that to Austria, Austria is not even a fifth of the Swedish surface. They have 13,000 hotels. Sweden 2.1 thousand. Austria 13,000. But number of private holiday houses, 606,000 private houses. But those are all those little huts that you can find on Airbnb, which is a pretty dang thing to do. Alright, now you've learned something about the tourism and the landscape here in Sweden, but now we go more in depth about the economy. For all the students, big bucks investors and wannabe Bill Gates out there. We are talking big money in Sweden because they have a GDP of, I'm not on Wikipedia, $529 billion, which is one of the highest per capita in Europe. Although the wages per capita in Europe are not as high. That's because taxes are super dangerously high in Sweden. There's even one article out there that says that the tax rate in average is above 60% on your salary. So that is a little too high for my understanding, but that is like just an indicator for how freaking high it is. Alright, what else do we have? Maybe a little bit about the economic history of Sweden, because Sweden in the 19th century was a poor place, I can tell you. People were mostly farmers and the rest of the population used to work in mines But then, before the First World War, economy really started buzzing in Sweden. And guess what? As the state stayed neutral in both wars, they had a huge profit out of the two world wars. You always think about Switzerland and they are being neutral, but also Sweden went that way and they gained huge growth after First and Second World War. Simply because after the world wars, most of the countries in Europe were like, oh, we're starving, we have nothing, everything is bombed, although they just bombed themselves. But then Sweden came and rescued everyone. It became one of the biggest export nations in Europe. At that time, they exported mostly food, wood and iron ore to the other states. So that part in history was a huge success in the Nordic country Sweden. And let's not forget, Sweden was the main supplier of iron ore and iron products in general for the Second World War as well. So they didn't only profit after the World War, but also during the World War, basically sponsoring all of the iron that was needed to get all the weapons and tanks and all that stuff. So, big time clever, Swedish. But, as life goes, the crisis also hit Sweden in the 1990s, where investments in the country dropped to almost zero and a lot of companies went to almost bankrupt. But the Swedish people, they have always a new trick up their sleeve, because the mining of iron ore and other important metals for the industries in Germany, France and all over the world, they are driving their country's welfare. In some years, the iron industry in Sweden took over 90% of the gross domestic product. Good. So now we learned a bit about the past and the present, and the future beholds a promising picture for Sweden, because they are big time investing into new technologies, into hydrogen powered vehicles and fuel cell technology, plus all the modern stuff that's going on right now. So yeah, they are going with the time, and I have no worries about Sweden going in a bad place anytime soon.